Alright guys, we are here with another season of the SMITE Pro League. This is going to be the fall split, otherwise known as the world split. And this season is going to be a lot different than other seasons. It's the first time there's whole new interactions basically on. It's 4 weeks of play, and then it's like group lands, and then it's like more lands, and then more lands, and more lands, and more lands, and more lands. And there's like a gauntlet you can fight through if you don't make it to the lands kind of thing. But everybody goes to one land. It's all crazy. It's going to be a crazy season, so you're going to have to pay extra close attention this season. There's basically only 4 weeks right now of online play, and then everything gets put into groups, and then there's more play after that. So we're going to have to get all that figured out, the more we get into the season. But we do know that starting, if today is Wednesday, then tomorrow is Thursday. So tomorrow, which means if this is on YouTube, then today, basically, we've got the SPL officially starting. And this is the matches to put people into two groups, okay? So depending on how you seed in the first 4 weeks, you play every team one time, 2 games. So you play every team one time, but for 2 games, it's just you play 2 games, you win both, you win one each, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's not like a best of 3. You just play your games, bada bing. At the end, it's going to seed you 1st through 8th, and then depending on your seeding, you get thrown into a group. I imagine it's going to be one group of 1, 2, 7, 8, and the other group of 3, 4, 5, 6. But I don't have confirmation on that, but that would make more sense. So let's get right into it, guys. First up, we have Team Envious versus the Randozos. Both of these teams having made the SPL again after regulations, or whatever they call them. Relegations, which had regulations, but not the same thing. They both made it back in. I think the Randozos surprised a lot of people by making it back into the SPL, but they actually played very well. Envy, as expected, pretty easily finding their way back into the SPL. It's going to be pretty hard to know exactly where teams are this season. Just going into it, the off season's been kind of crazy. A lot of the teams we haven't seen play in a long time, like these 2 teams. But I'm going to go ahead and give this 2-0 the way of Envious. I think they're going to start off their season right here. But I think the Randozos are going to be a lot better than they were last time. If you put the Randozos basically last season losing every game, I wouldn't do that this season again. I do think they're definitely going to be able to split. This could be a potential split for them, but I'm leaning towards Envy more than the split here right now. Next up, we have Denial versus Allegiance. If I could get my pants up into what Team Allegiance? I can't get my leg high enough. Anyway, Team Allegiance. I mean, they're a pretty cool team, right? They're pretty cool friends and guys. Denial. Last season being right in the middle of the pack. Well, they were, I guess, not really middle. They were like 5th seeded, and Allegiance was like 6th seeded. So pretty much, it was they're pretty closely matched. Both having roster changes going into the 2nd season. Both teams arguably looking stronger with the roster changes. But rumor has it that Denial's been having perhaps a hard time in scrims, but nobody really knows because everything is rumors about everything at this point. There's rumors that Enemy Esports is having a really hard time in scrims because they don't have Panda Cat. But who knows? Who knows? There's a lot of rumors going around. But we're giving this 2-0 the way of Allegiance because we rep in ALG. And yeah, there you go. Number 1. Soar versus Luminosity. This should be a great game. Soar versus Luminosity should be a really good game. Probably the best game out of our Thursday games, I would say. This is going to be the best set to start us off. Soar, notably now having Andister and Snoopy on their team. Luminosity, same old Luminosity. Basically outside of, now they have Xenotronics and Mask on their team. So I guess not really same old. It's Barra, Jeff, Scary D, Mask, and Xenotronics. So both of them are going to be very good teams to split. I think Luminosity is going to have a much better season than they did last kind of split arena. They had a bit of a hard time. But I also think the new Sora lineup is going to be very good. I'm actually going to give this the way of split. But that should be the best matchup that we have here in these first 4 days. Some information on Enemy versus Eager here. I don't know why Eager doesn't have... Why doesn't Soar have a logo? Why doesn't Eager have a logo? What's happening? Why doesn't Eager have a logo? Why don't Soar have a logo? Anyway, that's weird. That needs to be fixed. Anyway, back into here. Enemy Esports does not have Panda Cat for their first 2 weeks, give or take, of play. Just so everybody knows, Panda Cat being the ADC, he will not be playing with them for a while. I want to say maybe Wowie's playing with them. I'm actually not even sure who their ADC is. I just know that Panda Cat is busy. I don't know what he's doing, but he's busy. So he will not be playing. Also to be noted that Eager has not had Zapman for approximately 2 weeks to practice with because Zap was in Vegas and then Brazil. He has recently gotten back and they've gotten some scrims in, but they have not been practicing with Zapman for basically the past 2 weeks. So that also may factor into that situation. So do with that information what you will on your own, but I'm going to go ahead and use that information to put it as a split. That's what I'm taking that information as. So now we're moving on to Europe, where we have apparently no logos in Europe. It's no logo Europe, dude. Holy, no logos, Batman. So we've got Fantastique versus Cyclone GG. Fantastique, if I recall, it's kind of remnants of teams like Fnatic that are still playing. The European team's been a little bit harder to follow. Cyclone GG fought their way into the SPL, and they were the only challenger team to make it into the SPL, and they knocked out Torpedo, I believe. I might be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. It's been a little bit hard to follow the European team. There's been a lot of hopping around, a lot of jumping. I think Fantastique's going to take this. Cyclone GG, very new to the SPL, so we're going to go ahead and give that to the... I mean, they're still like, technically Fantastique's like a kind of a new team, but not really. Not really. Dignitas versus the Leftovers. So Dignitas has the potential to be like a really good team. Last season they didn't really show it. They had a couple spurts of like, hey, maybe they figured it out, and then they dropped off, and hey, maybe we figured it out, and then they dropped off. They did have some opportunities. I am going to give it 2-0 the way of them. I don't think the Leftovers are going to be able to take that. But Dig does have the potential on their team. Maybe they get that little bit of momentum. Maybe they get some good seeding because they get a little momentum. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. Hungry for More versus Cringe Crew. This should actually be a really good set as well. I'm a big fan of Hungry for More. Hungry for More having Ataraxia as their hunter. I think a lot of people doubted the team from last season, but they actually played fairly well. They ended up getting on like a crazy win streak or something, right? Like a 13-game win streak last season. Something nuts like that. But I am looking at them this season to once again perform pretty strongly. Cringe Crew kind of sitting there right off the curve. So they're going to need to start off this season really strong. This would be the game for them to win, okay? This would be the game for them to start off and come out strong and show that Cringe Crew's improved. But I do think that Hungry for More is the better team. Just generically. And with our end of SPL week 1, except for not really, it's end of our weekday week 1, because we still have Saturday and Sunday where all the teams basically play again. It's going to be a ton of games. A ton of games. We have Panthera versus Paradigm. Panthera, you know, the no-logo Panthers. The no-logo Panthers coming in hot. Obviously, this is Panthera that we're talking about. This is Paradigm that we're talking about. The top 2 teams in Europe. I see no reason why these teams wouldn't be the top 2 going into the end of the split from Europe. I don't see anybody that can test either of them. Between the 2 of them, Paradigm always seems to be like right there. Panthera did drop some games at the last LAN, but of course they still won the LAN. I don't think they were taking it very seriously. There was a lot of posts on Twitter saying like scrimming tonight, and they were just like drinking, not playing at all. So I don't think they were taking it very seriously, and they still won. I imagine they're back into their serious mode now that it's World season. So until proven otherwise, it's back to picking Panthera every game. Continuing onward on Saturday with our European games, we got Hungry for More versus Fantastique. A lot easier there. I've got that going the way of Hungry for More. Next up, Panthera versus Dignitas. Another easier one. Got that going the way of Panthera. Let's keep the easy games rolling. We got Paradigm versus Cyclone GG. Give it the way of Paradigm. A little bit more of an interesting game here. Cringe Crew versus Leftovers, but giving that to Cringe Crew. To the cringe to the crews. Alright. Now to North America, where things are not quite, I think, as straightforward as Europe is going to be, but we still have some games coming out here that might be more stompy. Soar versus Envy. How good really is the new Envy roster? We haven't seen it against top teams. How strong is Soar? We've only basically seen them at the LAN, right? We saw them play at the LAN. They did okay. They did not make it to the finals with that new roster immediately, so they might have a harder time here. I'm going to give it 2-0 the way of Soar, but I would not be surprised to see Envy take a game off them. Also, thank you, Captain, for the resub. I appreciate it. Next up, we have Enemy versus Denial. I think this could be a really good game. They still won't have Panda Cat on Enemy. If Denial has their footing by this point, I think that they could very well take a game off the Enemy. I know Enemy almost beat Panthera at LAN, but I was with Panda, and I think they might have a really hard time without Panda on their team. He is a lot of their carry potential. This is going to be one of my little bit more wild card picks for the week. So if you want to go standard, that's going to be Enemy 2-0, but I'm going to give this the way of split. Standard would be Enemy Esports, but that's going to be more one of my crazier picks of the week. Eager versus Randozzo's. I see no reason why Eager should not take that 2-0 over Randozzo's. At the same time, I don't think Randozzo's are going to just be going this entire season losing every game, so maybe they split with Envy, maybe they split with Eager. We'll have to see how they perform, but I think they are a much better team than they were. I think that North America right now, between the 8 teams, is real tight. Maybe like Enemy Esports is above them all, and maybe Randozzo's is at the bottom, but like it's a lot closer than it used to be. Finally, finishing up the week with Luminosity and Allegiance. Both of these rosters coming at each other, pretty new rosters. Two new players on each side? No, 3 new players on Allegiance, 2 new on Luminosity. So pretty significant new rosters. Half of the players being new to the rosters. So this should be a close one. Depending on how they play earlier in the week, this might affect how this game goes as well. Depending on whether Allegiance beats Denial and how Luminosity does against Soar, right? And how Luminosity does against Soar. I think if Luminosity loses 2-0 against Soar, this becomes interesting. I think if Denial beats... you can change these picks after the first week once it goes through. But I've got this going the way of split. Luminosity's new team looking really strong, but so does ALG's. So depending on how they both perform earlier in the week, I think we may be, shifting these around. Always pay attention to how the previous games go during the week, because you can always change your later predictions depending on how strong everybody's looking and not looking, for that matter. But that's going to be the end of our picks, guys. So rounding back through it, we've got Envy taking their set, ALG, Soar, LG split, Enemy Eager split to finish up Thursday. Going into Friday, we got Fantastique Dig winning theirs, Hungry for More, and Panthera. Followed up by our Saturday games with Hungry for More, Panthera, Paradigm, and Cringe Crew taking the wins 2-0. And on Sunday, we've got Soar over Envy, Enemy, Denial, Split, Eager over the Randozos, and an LG split, guys. Let me know down in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube if you agree or disagree, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It's the final countdown. Ba-da-ba-boo. Ba-da-ba-ba-boo. Ba-da-ba-boo. The final countdown.